I have finally returned home. It feels very good to be back on the Hermitcraft server, back inside my base, back ready to start recording another Hermitcraft episode. For those of you who don't know, we live inside a chapel, okay? A little ex-church, and it's something that we bought as a project, and for the past 1.5 years we've been prepping up to do some serious renovation work, and finally the time has come where that renovation work is currently happening. It is incredibly exciting for me. I cannot wait to see this project get completed. It's been on my mind for the past 1.5 years since we bought the place. The only issue is that renovation work doesn't really lend itself to recording Minecraft videos. You see, building's quite loud, and obviously they're here quite a lot, 8 in the morning till 6 at night, 5 days a week, which means my recording windows are significantly reduced, and I'm taking that opportunity to just relax a little bit for the first time in the 9 or 10 years that I've been making Minecraft YouTube videos. With that being said, I've really missed making Hermitcraft episodes, and in my personal opinion there's no better way to return to the series than starting off with some highly complicated and very confusing redstone circuitry. In the previous episode of Hermitcraft, yeah, I think it was the previous, we built up these Pacifico banking systems, which allow all of the members of Hermitcraft to have their own Pacificoin bank accounts with overdraft systems and everything. They are incredibly fancy, but they are far from being operational. I have to link them up, I have to make sure that the item transfer is working properly, and I have to install at least one shopping module today to make sure that the actual currency exchange and the withdrawal from the accounts is fully working as well. This is a pretty accurate representation of my face currently as I'm trying to work all this stuff out in my head. I'm sure it'll be fine though. I mean, how hard can it be? My initial idea isn't going to work. I've got a lot less space to play with than I was expecting. I seem to have completely run out of redstone blocks. Okay, I take back my statement of how hard can it be. The problem is I need to be able to send a redstone signal from this redstone line right here up and across into this module and back into this redstone line right here, but then I also need to be able to send a redstone signal from this redstone line right here back all the way across into this redstone line right here. Do you see the problem? I need like a two-way redstone line, and it can't create a redstone clock, and it needs to fit within this relatively small space. After searching through YouTube a little bit, I discovered this two-way repeater design posted back in 2013 by Redstone Innovation. Bit of a fanboy moment here, but Redstone Innovation were one of my favourite YouTube channels when I first started out. The redstone creations they were making were just always so smart, so compact, and this is a pretty good example of that. And I think it has saved the day. So we now have a bunch of these things going between our two modules, so we can send redstone signals from this one to this one, and from this one to this one without running into any issues. Now before we test it, I just want to show you why this wouldn't work, because I'm sure some people would think that this would work. The issue is obviously the redstone signal runs up into that repeater there, it then powers that redstone dust, which then it creates an infinite loop, and that means that it will never unpower. The reason that doesn't happen with a system like this is because when the redstone block moves across, it actually redirects the redstone so that it's not running into this block, which means that you don't get it feeding back into the other side of this circuit. So when this extends across, that redstone gets redirected, meaning it doesn't power this block, which means it doesn't power this piston, which means it doesn't then power this redstone line. Super simple and super smart. So that bank account is currently selected. If I select one of the ones on this panel over here, we should see that this bank account is now selected, and that one has now been deselected. And then if I select one of the bank accounts on this panel, we should see that the one over there is deselected. This one is now selected. Yes, that is big news. So next thing on the agenda is of course our Pacificoin converter. Now I think this is probably the way to do it. So we're going to have this very nice little system here integrated into the reception that Iskal built. After the Great Palm Tree incident of 2021, I don't want to remove any more of Iskal's builds. So as I've shown fairly recently, you insert your diamonds into here and then Pacificoins will pop out, and we're going to use a variable price. So the price of Pacificoins will be changing day by day. As is tradition with this redstone project, things are a little bit more complicated than I was expecting. The aquarium is kind of in the way of where a lot of the redstone should be, so I'm having to rotate parts of the redstone circuit 90 degrees to make it all fit, but then I need to make sure that it doesn't get too close to this, because then we're going to run into issues and it's all just a big headache. But with that being said, we are making good progress. We've got the item filter and also the item slowdown system, so that slows the flow of diamonds so that we actually can output the correct number of Pacificoins. And now I'm just working on the actual Pacificoin calculation and also the dispensing, which sounds really complicated, but it actually isn't too bad. So these are our Pacificoin dispensers or droppers. On the right, we have got the 5 that you're guaranteed to get. You'll always get 5 Pacificoins minimum, and then on the left you can see that we could get up to 9 Pacificoins per diamond, which I have now done. They're sat there, and I'm just thinking with the Pacificoin popping up to the surface, so originally you would put in your diamond and then the Pacificoins would pop up basically underneath your feet. in a little water stream. That's cool. That's not too bad. That is pretty fancy. But we have this aquarium here, and I feel like I would be really missing out on a massive opportunity to send the Pacific coins up through the aquarium and then have them pop out the top. I mean, it doesn't seem like it would be too difficult to do. I just have to reroute this water stream here. This is going to be a water stream. I have to route this across like this, and then underneath everything, and potentially through this doorway, and then they could go straight up. I mean, it seems pretty simple, and I do think it would make Iskall very, very happy, because, you know, I think he's still a little bit upset about the removal of the palm trees, so anything that I can do to brighten his mood, I would say is worth trying. So everything has been all connected up to the top. I'm just trying to work out the best way to send... That is... I mean, I don't know if it would have done too much damage, but it's still not... It wouldn't have been good. As I was saying, I'm trying to work out the best way to send the items across. I'm hoping... Do you reckon the items will catch on this? Genuinely, I'm curious here, because that's the most minimal look that I think we could go for. Let's see. If we just drop an item into the water stream, we should see it fly past. That looks fantastic. And I thought we were going to end up with an endless cycle then. Wait, if we just place in some blocks here, we could actually end up with an endless cycle. And then we can do like a really easy test to see if it will ever get caught on anything. So it goes up, flies across. I feel like this should probably be a feature of Pacific. This is really satisfying. And it doesn't seem to be getting caught on anything at this point in time. I guess I'll just stand here for around about 5 minutes and see if anything happens. I guess we'll wait and see on this one. I thought I would speed up the testing a little bit. I mean, this is just incredibly satisfying, isn't it? I genuinely spent so long watching that there was a high chance that I could have lost my items with despawning. I was probably within 30 seconds. Anyway, nothing got caught. Everything seems to be working well. So that is going to be the Pacific coin dispensing system. Iskall is going to be chuffed to bits. I shouldn't say that on his behalf, but I feel like he will be. So after doing a lot of redstone work underneath the ground that you can't really see, I thought it was about time that we actually start work on some of the shopping areas. Because of course, you've built up the banking system, but there's currently no way for people to actually purchase items, and the purchasing of items is going to be happening in this enormous space right here, which I've just realised this space really is enormous. We're going to have a lot of stuff for sale, but what I'm imagining currently is a line of buttons on this back wall right here that you press, and obviously you can then purchase, you can grab your items, and then the cost of the items will be automatically deducted from your Pacific coin bank accounts, and we've got all of the redstone for that underneath the floor. That's already worked out. The only thing that we have to do is send the balance of the item down into that area under there, which as always sounds a lot more complicated than it actually is, I hope, because whenever I say that, it ends up being a lot more complicated than it sounds. So I've got 21 buttons lined up, which means that we have got room for 21 different items to sell on this floor. Now, as mentioned earlier on, each one of these 21 items is going to have a different value, and that is going to be set up by this little observer clock system down underneath here. So if I press one of these buttons, you can see that observer fires 5 times when it's in line with this observer here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then there's an extra one up at the top, but we don't count that one because that's not going to affect anything. Those 5 matter because we can then take those 5 pulses and we can run them into a line of droppers. If you only have 1 dropper, then you'll get 5 items dropped out. If you have 2 droppers, then you get 10 items dropped out. And if you have 5 droppers, then you get 25 items dropped out. Are you impressed by my quickfire 5 times tables? You should be. We then use those number of items that get dropped out to set the amount of money that needs to be taken from the Pacific coin bank account. So if 15 items get dropped out over here, then that means that 15 Pacific coins need to be removed from the person's bank account that is selected. And that is essentially the Pacific redstone system in a nutshell. We have some extra complications with overdraft and things, but for the most part, this is how it functions. And I like to think that this is how real life banks function as well. Like when I purchase something from Amazon, you just see coins fly through water streams inside of a bank being deposited into another chest. Can you imagine how cool that would be? I think we should go to systems like that. Oh, I've just come up with a really cool idea. I'm not sure that I can do the idea, but if I can do the idea, it's going to be incredible. But it also requires quite a lot of construction to get working. So I really hope that this idea works. Otherwise, it's going to be an absolutely enormous waste of time. What I'm hoping is we should be able to use the aquarium once again. This time, instead of sending items up through it, we send items down through it. So when you grab your Pacific coins, when you deposit diamonds into the system and you get your Pacific coins, the items come up. And then when you spend your Pacific coins, we should see that they will come down this side. And I've just set up a big water transportation system to actually make all of that function. And it was at that moment I got blown up by a creeper. And I don't even want to look down there. I'm sure there's been plenty of redstone that's been destroyed. But yeah, there's the water transportation system. It sends it all down into the middle. It should all work. I'm sad. Creeper explosions aside, we now have the Pacific banking system all working properly. We now have the Pacific coin acquisition system working properly as well. People can now get Pacific coins, and we have our first shopping module too, so we have made some pretty serious progress. And there is more work that I need to do in this episode on Pacific, but I'm going to take a little break from it because my brain hurts. And it was at that moment that I saw it. What on earth is this thing? What on earth is this thing? Where has this come from? When did it arrive? I don't understand. I've been playing on the Hermitcraft server all day long. I've pretty much been the only person online. Corrales has popped in occasionally, but I don't think he's been on enough to actually construct this thing. And more importantly, I've been shopping at the barge. I've been in and out of this shopping district and obviously going to and from my base. I would have seen this being constructed. This is very strange. This is very odd. I don't really know what to say about this one. I mean, it looks incredibly fancy. It looks... Alright, we've got a lot of flames, we've got a lot of magma blocks, and then it has redstone lamps on either side. I mean, I'm just explaining things that you can already see. I don't need to explain that. You're watching the video. You can see what it is. But that doesn't actually explain anything. I'm gonna have to go to sleep on this one. I'm gonna have to compile a few thoughts. I really don't know what to say about this one. I mean, it looks like it's come from outer space and just crash landed in the middle of the shopping district. This is bizarre. This is... Okay, it's getting weirder. Things are getting stranger. Give us your name. Who is us? What is us? Why do they want my name? H? I mean, there's a lot of very strange digits and things in there. HCBBS. HCBBS, okay. When the countdown ends, it begins. Oh, is it... Oh, it's a countdown. Okay. So, I'm pretty early then. Because the countdown is currently full. Is it going to count that? How long's the countdown going to be? What? The questions just keep increasing. What is going on? Are there any more of these things? Insert name be a part of change. I mean, this... I don't know how I feel about this. I really don't know how I feel about this. I mean, it looks like it's all concentrated towards the center and there's some chests and things down here. Insert name be a part of change. Insert name be a... I mean, they really want my name. Whoever they are, they definitely want my name to be inserted into this chest. Okay, rename and insert in chest. Give us your name. Do I want to give my name to these? Probably not. But I'm a moron, so let's do it. Embarrassingly, I didn't have enough levels to do that, so I had to go and kill some hoglins. Let's do this. Right, do I have to write it in that weird way? I mean, I don't even think I can write it in that weird way. Maybe I'll do something like this. Yeah, that seems to fit the theme, right? And in it goes. Ooh. You were invited to the changeover. That, once again, I don't know if that's good or bad, to be frankly honest. I don't know how I feel about this whole thing. I fear I've made a grave error, but the issue is I can't get my name back out of the system. So I guess we wait to see what happens when the clock runs out, whenever that may be. Anyway, I'm going to try my best to put all of that to the back of my mind. I'm going to put this token somewhere. I mean, I don't even know if I still need this thing. There is still some work that needs to be done over at Pacific. So I've repaired up the creeper hole, and this area here is where all of our items will drop through, but I need to put in the systems that are going to convert those items that are dropping through into an actually usable redstone signal that we can then decode, making use of these banking machines. The first thing we needed to do was actually get the items out of the aquarium, which should be quite simple. I mean, if I just break this glass right here, the water should flow across, and that should do the trick. And then I need to run the items then through into the overdraft system, which I have somehow managed to mess up the item transportation system around about 4 or 5 times now. It's getting embarrassing. And now that it's all constructed, the hopper line is actually quite long. So it's going to take a long time for the items to end up in the overdraft system, especially if it's this chest right here. So maybe we can do something about this. I think I've actually come up with something pretty smart here. So if an account on this side is selected, then it will unlock this hopper right here, which means the items will go in this direction. If an account on this side is selected, then this redstone torch will be on, this hopper will be powered, so the items will go across like this and into this section, which means we don't have that long loop. Next, we need to connect up this redstone line right here, which is our bankrupt redstone line. This is the redstone line that essentially you don't want to activate, because it means that you've run out of money. And we need to run that redstone line from up there all the way across and into our hoppers to make sure that if the person has run out of money, then we unlock the hoppers, stop the items from going into this chest, and instead send the items through into the overdraft system to be logged into the overdraft system. I hope that made sense. It probably doesn't. Regardless as to whether or not it makes sense, it is now all in place. So now I'm working on this next part of the system, which honestly, I don't even really know how to explain. I have to connect this up into this. To be honest with you, at this point in time, I'm actually starting to lose track of what I'm doing. It's been a little while since I built up the redstone circuit, so I'm not really recognizing what each one of the redstone lines does. I just know that they're probably important because they're in there, so that's why I'm placing them in. That's why it's good when you've designed a redstone circuit to get to building it pretty much immediately, because then everything is fresh in your head and you know where everything goes and you know what the function is of everything. In situations like this, it's actually a lot more challenging and a lot more mistakes get made. Hopefully though, this redstone system should be completely mistake-free, and we're going to have to do some pretty vigorous testing of it to make sure that nobody loses out on a lot of diamonds. Next thing that needs to be worked on is the bankruptcy chest block off system. So this is the line of pistons that are going to block off the players from being able to purchase anything from Pacific if they've run out of Pacific coins. So that all needs to go in, and it's going to go in a very ugly fashion. None of this is what it's going to look like once it's done. Okay, a lot of these are placeholder blocks. I just want to make sure that we have a working concept so that I can show it all off to Iskal. That makes it sound like this thing's not going to be sticking around. No, this is a finalized shopping module. This will be staying here. It's just all the pretty stuff. That's the stuff that I struggle with, and I'm not going to put energy into right now, so I'll leave that up to Iskal, I think. So I now have a long redstone line connecting the basement of the Pacific building all the way up to, well, this area of the Pacific building. And of course, this redstone line isn't just going to be running up into this shopping module, it's going to connect all of the shopping modules. So that redstone torch tower is going to go right to the very top of the skyscraper. Now, this has come as a bit of a surprise to even me, but with that redstone line, I think that should be the entire Pacific redstone system now fully connected up. And like, in theory, ready to actually use. Like, it should be actually operational. Everything that needs to be connected is now connected. I'm looking around and there's nothing in these redstone circuits that isn't in my planned out redstone circuits that actually are working in the Pacific Vault. So that means that this system should all be functional and operational, which is a little bit terrifying. We are nearing the grand opening of Pacific. I mean, with the redstone system done, now it's just all of the bulk work in getting all of the items, working out what we're actually going to sell, getting all of the shopping modules in place, making sure everything looks good, getting our marketing campaign sorted. I mean, yeah, there's still quite a lot left to do. But if we quickly run over all the stuff that we've already done, I mean, first off, we have this ridiculous island complete with floaties up at the top. That's a huge piece of progress. We designed, well, first off, we built a gigantic vault underneath my base so that we could design Pacific systems. We then designed a full banking system with individual accounts and overdraft and all sorts of balance inquiries and things. And then we built those things on a much larger scale inside of the Pacific building, whilst avoiding aquariums and unfortunately removing palm trees. And then in this episode alone, I've connected up the two Pacific coin banking systems so that they're actually communicating with one another properly. They're not just singular entities that don't know what's going on. They're now fully connected and integrated. They work properly with items coming in and out. I've also created a diamond to Pacific coin converter system, which sends the Pacific coins up through an aquarium. We've got our first shopping module, which actually sends items down into the Pacifico banking system, and then we also have outputs from the Pacifico banking system running up into the shopping module. What I'm essentially trying to say is, although we've got a lot to do, just look how far we've managed to come. And on top of all of that, I've discovered a gigantic, potentially universe death clock, which by the looks of things actually appears to be counting down. We have lost a redstone lamp here, so this thing's counting down quite quickly. Should I be scared? What have I signed myself up for? Has anyone else signed up for this? I hope I'm not the only person to sign up for this. Because I don't really know what's going to happen when that thing hits the bottom. I mean, what could it all mean? What does it all mean? What does HCBBS stand for? I googled it and it came up with absolutely nothing. So please, down in the comment section, help me out here. Alright, help me out. Try and work out what on earth this thing is. I would really, really appreciate that. And if it's something bad, don't tell me, because I don't want to know, okay? I don't want to know what's going to happen. I don't want to know when something bad is going to happen. Imagine if I knew it was something bad and I watch it count down and then something awful happens to me. No, if it's bad, don't tell me, but if it's good, then please let me know down in the comment section. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this jam-packed episode of Hermitcraft, and I will catch you in the next one. See ya!